Hello and welcome to the Youth Roundtable here on Lumen TV. My name is Movanga. Today we have another interesting topic for you, and I encourage you to stay tuned and listen and understand, and of course get to share with us on what we have prepared to you. Today our topic is drug and alcohol abuse, and this is something that is affecting each and every young person out there. I am joined by my fellow young people in the studio who will help me share on this topic today, and I will let them introduce themselves.
Hello viewers, my name is Sevia Chandamalama. I am a medical student at Levi Mwanawasa Medical University, pursuing a Bachelor of Degree in Clinical Nutrition and Dietetics, and I belong to the Levi Mwanawasa Medical University Catholic community, of which I am the Vice Chairperson of the community. It's an honor for me to be here at Lumen TV. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you so much for joining us. And our only gentleman today.
Sure. Greetings, viewers. My name is Jotham Likomeno, and I'm coming from Unza Catholic community. I'm a journalist by profession. It's a pleasure to be here to contribute to things that are really necessary for the youth and also the society.
Greetings viewers, my name is Christine Piri. I am a third-year law student at Cavendish University, Zambia. I belong to the Cavendish University Catholic community. It is such an honor to be here today. Thank you so much for having me.
And thank you so much for coming here to help us share on this topic of drug and alcohol abuse. Now, young people often face temptations. It might be peer pressure or just the challenges that lead them to experiment with these substances. Today we are going to talk about the dangers of drug and alcohol abuse, and more importantly, how we can support each other in living, we can say, a free and healthful and purposeful life. So first of all, to share, what do you think some of the challenges or maybe the things that lead to young people abusing alcohol?
Well, I can start by responding, maybe being the only man. One of the things that I can mention is very same peer pressure that you did mention. We belong to different social groups, and people want to have that sense of belonging, and to be part of any social group. There are certain things that define that group and also what brings you together. So you just have to do that. If you don't do it, meaning you have to stand alone. And so there's a theory called spiral of silence, where people have a fear of minority. If I don't do this, which maybe I'm the only one holding this view, and so I want to be part of the majority group. So I think that's one of the contributions.
Okay, Christine, what do you think are some of the reasons that young people tend to abuse alcohol or drugs?
I think media influence plays a big part because the media has glamorized substance abuse. Young people think as though taking drugs, abusing substances is a fun or a cool way just because music videos and movies say so. I also think that curiosity also plays a part because many young people are curious to try new things. If you see your friends taking certain substances, you'll be curious to try them, and which will lead to a person maybe getting addicted to those substances, which can result in very harmful and dangerous outcomes.
Yeah, that is very true. I love the part that you mentioned to say addiction and extensive use. So we define drug and alcohol abuse as the harmful or the excessive use of substances that affect, be it our mind, our bodies, and this goes beyond, the occasional, maybe we can say the responsible use of, these alcohol drinks. But then a person who uses drugs or alcohol in ways that damage their health and of course their relationships with their families and their general responsibilities is someone who is considered as an addict or an abuser of alcohol. And then these substances are used, like we said, it can be peer pressure, it can be a reason to escape certain feelings. But then, of course, as young people, when we look at this issue of drug and alcohol abuse, we can also want to say, you mentioned the part of social media, it comes from the things that we see out there. So now, how does social media add to us abusing these alcohol or these drugs?
I think to add on, when we look at so many young people who idolize certain influencers, musicians, and if you look at them, they end up abusing drugs. There's this certain show that many young children are watching, and there's so much substance abuse, drug abuse in that movie, and many people are trying to follow.
Just to live up to that standard.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So there might be some young person out there who's disagreeing to say, I'm not addicted to alcohol. I maybe drink occasionally, or maybe I drink once in a while. And that, of course, is not good all in all. And unfortunately, the abusers of these drugs and alcohol are people who are below the age of 18 itself. So what are some of the short-term and the long-term effects of drug and alcohol abuse on the health of the young person?
So, talking of the short and long-term effects of drugs and alcohol on the young person's health and future. So, drugs and alcohol may give a temporary excitement, which just happens at that particular moment. I hear others say, when I take alcohol, I feel like everything is just okay. Yeah. So now, one thing that they don't think about that you may be okay in that moment, but the consequences that will come later on are very dangerous. So when we look at the short-term effects, they can cause accidents, poor judgment, and also loss of concentration in your education. And it can also result in risky behaviors that may ruin a person's reputation and relationships that you have with other people. So when we look at the book of Proverbs 20 verse 1, it warns us that wine is a mocker, strong drink is raging, and whoever is deceived thereby is not wise. So this means that what looks fun at first, you may feel at that point, but it will easily lead you into foolish and harmful choices. You fail to make the right choices in life. So when we talk of the long-term effects now, alcohol will now destroy your body because it's been prolonged, and it will result now in diseases such as liver failure, lung damage, mental illness, and it can also lead to broken dreams. So some people may even lose the jobs, others scholarships. If not, you may end up losing your life because of misusing the drugs that you're taking. So now Galatians 6 verse 7 reminds us that do not be deceived, God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows. So if you decide to sow in drugs and alcohol, obviously you're going to reap distraction. And if you decide to sow in living a healthy life, you're going to reap a bright future.
Exactly.
Yeah. So when we talk of the spiritual part, substance abuse separates us from the plans that God has for us. So when we look at Jeremiah 29 verse 11, it tells us that for I know the plans that I have for you, the plans to prosper you and not to harm you, the plans to give you a hope and a better future. So drugs and alcohol takes us away from that beautiful plan. Those plans that God has for you will be taken away from you in the name of using drugs and alcohol.
Yeah. Now I know what you said, there are others who say meaning to say when I drink I feel calm, I feel everything is just okay in life. But then how does peer pressure, you mentioned the part of peer pressure, but then how does peer pressure influence the decision of an individual to abuse or to use substances?
I should say, once we make positive use of the influence that we have, we can easily help our colleagues that are addicted to any toxic substances.
Exactly.
So our peer pressure has to be used in a positive way.
So we can say there's positive peer pressure.
Yes, there is.
Yeah.
There's a positive and a negative one. So the negative being also one of which we are able to influence people to start drinking alcohol because they are friends, they are in our group, so they just have to do what we are doing. And that is we are in influencing people to do bad activities. But the positive one can help us to be good people in the society. Whereas if I do something positive and I know the influence that lies within me, I can make use of it to influence others to be good young men and women in the society. Talking about social media, there are people that have platforms on various social media platforms, and they have good following. You find even if somebody just goes live and they just cough, you find 100 reactions there. So if we make use of that influence and those numbers for better change, and also for the growth of personal life, community life, and also many other aspects of life, I think we would be doing justice to ourselves by just making it positive and good use of influence that lies within us.
I think that is very true. Young people often feel they must fit in to a certain standard in society, and then we're trying to prove ourselves, or maybe trying to prove a certain point. But then if we don't understand that peer pressure can make it harder for you to say no, you end up falling away from this. But we can also remember that our faith calls us to be courageous, and of course to be people who have wisdom, to remind ourselves on who our true friends are, and of course respecting our life choices. Now,
there's a scripture just to add to my point. So Romans chapter 12 verse 2 says, "Do not conform to the pattern of the world, but be transformed by the renewing of the mind." So I think we also have to make choices that do not lead us to worldly allurements, but rather things that reflect the true oneself, and also representing God, since we are created in His image. So we shouldn't be easily we shouldn't easily conform, and not even easily or fitting in.
Yeah.
Just to add on, I also think that association matters. The people you associate yourself with will actually help you build and not associate to certain standards of society. We have friends who would encourage you to do something good, maybe go to church, and you have other friends who discourage you. When you mention something about church, they get upset, or they say, "You're always talking about church, you're always talking about this." So it's very important to associate ourselves with people who are who have the same standard as we have.
Yeah, exactly. And coming from like different places and different communities, like you said, you're coming from Levy, and of course from Unza. We've got others coming from Cavendish, and then there's this belief to say, no, when you're in school, when you're in uni, that's the time you're supposed to enjoy your life. But then, like Christine has shared, let's find the right spaces to find ourselves in. Now, when it comes to these issues of alcohol and drug abuse, in what ways can we say drugs and alcohol damage our friendships, our families, and to some extent our community interactions?
I think they damage our friendships, our relationships with people, because you're breaking people's trusts by taking substances. When certain people find out to say you have an addiction, they may change their thinking They may change the way they think about you. They may change the way they see you as a person. And when it comes to our communities, substance abuse damages our communities because many young people will result in violence, theft, in doing wrong things or illegal things, and which also leads to harmful things that happen to you as a person. You may end up going to jail for stealing. You may end up going to jail for breaking the law.
Yeah, that is very true. When it comes to the aspect of, the community, we rarely see young people who feel, they say, in Nyanja, maybe they can say that in Mazmula Cheneka, but then you find, unfortunately, that young person or that young man goes home drunk, and unfortunately this gives, we can say, a negative lookout to the rest of their neighbors in the community. That's how he is each and every day, or that's how she is each and every day, and that's how she comes home.
That's right, Mwanga. And so viewers, let me use a very youthful term. So the other gender. So the other gender, those that value themselves and also value their life. If you approach them, I think one of the questions that they won't forget to ask is, do you drink? So that in itself should tell somebody a lot that, so drinking habits are actually bad, and if at all I need to get a good life partner for myself, I have to get rid of such drinking habits. So it's not just about blocking ways. Also, it's just not about the society or people in the community saying, no, somebody's son, somebody's daughter does drink, but also for things that maybe we could have really brought in and add value to our lives, but because we just do drink, we end up losing such opportunities, like a good wife.
Somebody might lose a good wife.
Of course.
There might be young people out there who say, the only way to enjoy yourselves, that's something that is now being said a lot, is the only way that a young person can enjoy themselves is when they go out. The only way a young person can enjoy themselves is when they're out, maybe with their friends, and they're out drinking. Unfortunately, it turns into abuse, it turns into addiction. But then, what are some of the healthy ways or healthy alternatives that we as young people can choose instead of drugs and alcohol abuse?
Okay, so as young people, we do not need drugs to be happy. Or for you, you don't need drugs. So one thing, or the alternatives that you can follow, is you joining the things that can keep you busy. So you can be part of music, enjoying sports, you can focus on your education and your skills. So these activities can give us that joy and confidence and help us discover our purpose in life. Yeah. So when we look at Philippians 4, verse 13, it says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So you do not need substances for you to be strong or for you to be accepted. So when you have God, and you know that God is the Lord of your life, is going to give you that strength that you need to do anything that you want. Yeah. So when we come to the book of John 10 verses 10, it tells us that the thief comes only to steal, kill, and destroy. So I have come that they may and have it to the full. So now there are other alternatives that you may look at. There are great alternatives. It may be you staying active in the church. The church has got so many ministries. We have the singing ministry. It may be Bible study, to mention a few. So you may find time to be part of those ministries.
And you can have fun in all those aspects.
Exactly.
We have in our youth groups, we've got camps that we go for. We've got retreats that we go for, and we go and have fun in those places. And we do have fun responsibly in all those areas. And other aspects can be maybe volunteering
Yes.
as youths in our communities. Even just a simple aspect like I know Jotham, you play the guitar.
Yeah.
Playing the guitar at church is something you can do. Join the choir. Those are all things that are alternatives, and you going always outside to drink and abuse alcohol. And we've been talking about or mentioning the parts of our faith because that is who we are, that is what we are rooted in. So does our faith and spirituality help us when we're coming or we are struggling with alcohol? There might be that young person out there who's listening or who's watching us and might be going through an addiction. It might be alcohol, it might be drugs, and they're saying, say, I've got nowhere to go, I've got nowhere else to be. But how does my faith come in when it comes to my spirituality when I'm struggling with maybe drug or alcohol abuse?
I think our faith comes in when we understand to say substance abuse or addiction is something spiritual and it requires power beyond human will. It is also important for us to understand that we can overcome this through fellowships. We can go to church, we can talk to our fellow Christians who understand, because the book of Galatians 6 verse 2 says, help each other with your troubles. So if you open up to people that you are struggling with a certain addiction, you will receive the help that you need from them. That's all I can say. We also have hope. If you have hope and purpose and believe that you are made for something more than just substance abuse, addiction, or a certain problem, we realize to say you become much better and you will be able to get the help that you need.
Yeah, there's more to life.
Of course, and and also to just add on, faith, does help to, have rather feel that self-love. So once I do love myself, I even know what is good for myself. What things I should consume, what things are health to my body. So, because faith teaches us to love ourselves and to love our neighbors, loving God, our neighbors just like we do love ourselves. So because we love ourselves, we will know and will be careful with the things and activities that we do engage ourselves in. And also because we are rooted in faith, we'll be active in the examples that we've cited of the communities that we have at church, small church communities, and also other interest groups, of which we always have, not always, we sometimes have fun, and even without drinking, people will come back happy. Yes. So you have faith and you have this community which you interact with quite often. So that can help you to stay away from beer, and the activities there will be a replacement for beer itself. And also, knowing our true identity. If I know that I'm a Christian, if I know that I'm Catholic, if I know that I do go to New Apostolic Church, and also we're not forgetting about those of our colleagues who may be by choice, they don't. Yes. So because I know what our teachings are, I know of what I do believe in, and we have faith in that, we'll then get to deeply grounded in that faith, and we can easily see things beyond the achievements and also the other things that we are material things. So beer itself is among the things that are just material, and we can have fun, but at the end of the day, once you've taken, it has gone.
It will be
and
like
yes,
Xavier had mentioned, it's just for
for a short period
of time.
And you take 2 or 3 hours, it disappears, and then you remain with a line of regrets. So once you are deep rooted in faith and you know what you believe in, I think you are going to know what you should focus on.
That is very true. So now, we as young people are, we can say, the biggest influencers of one another. So now, what role do I play as a young person in encouraging my fellow peer to continue to make positive choices in their life? What role do I play maybe as Mwanga in the life of Xavier? Maybe what role does Xavier play in the life of Christine, being her friend, or maybe being an individual who interacts with her? What role do I play in ensuring that I'm bringing maybe a positive influence in the lives of my fellow peer?
Well, so the first role that we have to bear in mind, or to keep in mind, or rather to possess and live by, is the way we value our life. That's the same way we should also value and protect and care for somebody's life. So if I do know well that excessive consumption of alcohol is unhealthy, I should be able to share to the next person that, bro, brother, sister, what you are taking. Maybe it might be difficult to make them stop there and then, but if I value my life and I have the care for the other person, I should be able to advise them that you are excessively taking this thing and it's harmful to you. So that's one way I can contribute, and also engaging others also in different activities like we did mention. So there are those of us, viewers, that have a privilege of meeting certain people, engaging in various activities. So call those of our colleagues that we know that are addicted to any of these any drugs, alcohol or any other drugs. Call them, let them tag along, so that instead of them spending time in a bar or anywhere drinking, at least they are spending time with you, where you go, where you spend your day. You might not call them at your workplace, but another place where you do have leisure, and without drinking, and you still come back safe and sound. Call such people so
just
that
invite them and welcome them. And I think that's where it means let's never shun away those that are facing challenges.
Exactly.
Yeah. So now, as we are drawing to the close of our program, what would be your words to that young person who's facing the challenge of addiction, who's maybe struggling with finding out who they are, and say, okay, I'm always considered as the negative person in the community, I'm always considered as the drunkard or the abuser of alcohol. What would be your words of encouragement to that young person? I'll start with Christine, and then Xavier, and then Jotham.
My words of encouragement to that young person would be, remember, if you're struggling with an addiction or a problem shared is a problem solved. Do not keep it to yourself. It's important to open up to other people so that you can get the help that you need. And like Xavier said, remember John 10:10, which says, the thief comes only to steal, kill, and destroy. It's important for us to remember that God wants us to live a life that is good, not a life that is wasted on drugs and abuse. That's all.
Xavier?
So to every young person watching out there, I want you to know that your life is precious. Do not let drugs and alcohol steal your future. And in everything, choose life, choose health, and choose God. That's all I can say.
Thank you so much, Jotham.
Thank you, Mwanga. I'll not only address my fellow youth or the young ones, I think even the elderly as well. So my parents and also my fellow youth and the young ones, the first thing we should know is that the excessive consumption of toxic substances is unhealthy. So whether we are doing it for just have fun or for whatsoever reasons, if we are depressed or anything, the first thing we should know is that it's not healthy to our bodies. And then the other question now I should ask is, are we first of all, in the first place, willing to reduce or rather to stop? Because that should be the first step to take. If we are not willing, then everything that we're talking about here won't even matter, and maybe somebody will even walk away from the TV. But what I would advise rather is, let's be so concerned and also care for our bodies. Because for our parents, the children are able to see what you are doing, and I've once seen a home where the parents do drink, both of them, and then the child, by God's grace, has chosen a different path. But because of that, the child is always depressed, seeking for guidance here and there, and reaching a level of at least maybe being adopted, wanting to be adopted by other parents, when actually her parents are still alive. They're living and they're living together. So that is causing, a direct impact on the children, to the parents that do excessively drink. And to us, the youth, we already know we are destroying our future if we do excessively, take toxic substances. The young ones, it's the same scenario as the youth. So my plea is, let's talk to somebody who can help us. Let's find ways in which we can reduce or completely stop, and also being prayerful, always engaging in different
other activities. Indeed. So to you, our dear viewer, I hope you have enjoyed our edition today of the Youth Roundtable. My name is Muranga Nwenda, and just as we've heard and understood and listened, in the end, drug and alcohol abuse is not just about the substances, but it's also about the choices that we make in our lives. Be it we're facing pressures in life, let's find other solutions to get away from these pressures. And we are reminded that we are created by God, and He created each and every one of us with a purpose for our future. And that is in Jeremiah 29:11. So let us remember to choose a healthy lifestyle, to live by our faith, and to live our own lives by who we are. As young people, we are called to be role models to each other even, and to encourage one another to live life fully and responsibly. Remember never to abuse alcohol or drugs. From the ADL Youth Roundtable, my name is Muranga Nwenda, and from our panels, it's goodbye, and don't forget to tune in to the next program that is coming up.